Let's bring in our panel. We have Kudlow & Company contributor Jerry Bowyer of Benchmark Financial, Quentin Hardy of Forbes Magazine, CNBC contributor Vince Farrell, Scotsman Capital, and David Malpass, president of Encima Global. Gentlemen, thank you. David, congratulations on your new company. All the very best in the future. I know you're going to knock them dead. Quentin Hardy, let me begin with you, buddy. It's been a while. Is this a bottom?
Good to be back.
Is this a bottom, Quentin? That's the big question du jour. Heck of a good day compared to what we've had. Bottom? Bottom, bottom?
Wish, wish. Sorry, there's these troubling facts getting in the way. This ends in a crisis and a resolution, not just a little, get-out-of-jail-free card, which today is. Yeah, oil prices came back a little bit, all to the good, as you say. Alcoa came up, as you say, except it was the worst performing stock in the Dow in the normal trading day, so its recovery is really not so great. Jamie Dimon is positive, but only if he gets a government bailout, basically. So all this stuff is hedged. There is a solution here, but we haven't had the crisis last act that leads to exhaustion and recovery.
Just after that cold water opening that you just gave us.
Sorry.
What kind of crisis? Well, I want your best shot. What kind of crisis are you looking at? What does a crisis mean? Define crisis for us.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Well, I think, Jamie said he likes some kind of government bailout for housing. It has to be seen as another financial sector crisis for that to happen. So it's something else in the banking sector.
Vince Farrell, something else in the banking sector. Now, you kind of liked what you heard from Jamie Dimon. We're going to get to Big Ben and Henry the P in just a moment and Boone Pickens. But let's focus on Mr. Jamie Dimon, who, for those who may not know, is in fact the chairman and CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase, etc. Actually, J.P. Morgan Chase, Bear Stearns, etc., etc. What Jamie Dimon say, he's a smart guy, he may be the new leader of banks here in Wall Street. What did he say that turned you on?
Well, I heard him say that the housing crisis is bottoming. And I like what Byron said earlier, that we're in a bottoming area. And Quentin, I'd slightly disagree with you because I think we've had the crisis. I think the crisis was the Bear Stearns fiasco, and we're working our way through the aftermath of that crisis. I don't know that we need another one. I think if I was to be convinced that we had at a bottom and turn around, I'd like to see like mutual fund redemptions where the private investor kind of gives up and walks away. But I believe that we're in a bottoming, and we're officially in bear market territory, having been down 20%. By the time you get down 20%, the average bear market's about 2/3 to 70% over. And then the typical rebound, Larry, would be like a 30-35% rebound after the bottom's reached. So
When's that coming? When's that 35% rebound coming? I can't wait for that.
After you hit the bottom. But the way I look at it, for a patient investor that says, gee, there's opportunities out there, if we're right that the average is down 30 and we're down a little over 20 for peak to trough, then I have 10% risk versus 30% upside gain. And I like those odds. And I like what Byron said, that we're in a bottoming area.
Can I just say, by the way, in terms of the Vince Farrell bottom earlier, from March 10th, the Dow is off 3%. However, since March 10th, which was one of the Vince Farrell bottoms, the NASDAQ remains up 5.8%, and the S&P 500 is 0.0, according to my sheets. The S&P 400 mid-caps is still up 7.1%, and the S&P 600 is still up 4.2%. You're not that far away. I got to give my friend Vince, but you're not that far away. You're losing ground on the Dow, but the other indexes are in your favor.
Right. We're looking at the bigger indices, and where I was wrong is I thought that the price of oil was going to start to moderate because I was hoping for strength in the dollar coming from resolve from the Federal Reserve. Now, it seems like the dollar is going to follow oil. I'm guessing that because the marginal cost of producing a barrel of oil is down at the highest at $75, and add some sort of geopolitical risk premium to it, and I'd make it $100 for all of that. The marginal cost is typically where the price will settle. So I think oil heads back there. And as that does, the dollar's going to rally. And you'll see the market do very well, in my opinion. Now, I thought what we needed was for the Fed to act to strengthen the dollar, therefore weaken oil. It looks like it might happen the other way.
Dave Malpass, I still want the Fed to act to strengthen the dollar. I want the Treasury to act to strengthen the dollar. And so far, I haven't heard a bloody thing out of this much-heralded G8 meeting. Nothing. Just a lot of stupid, ambiguous, vacuous, smoke-blowing cliches, David Malpass. What's up with this, buddy? We need a strong dollar, among other things that can reduce commodity prices. But most of all, it will stop the inflation tax, which is the cruelest tax of all. What's your take?
That's exactly right, and they could do so much. You didn't mention that neither of the candidates has said that they'd want a stronger dollar. People keep saying, how could they strengthen the dollar? Doesn't it reflect how bad the U.S. is? It's the other way around. The U.S. is feeling a lot of pain because of the weakening dollar. Think what it does to the lower income worker. He or she feels the rise in commodity prices, but hasn't gotten a wage increase yet. When you think about developing countries, one of the definitions of a developing country is somebody who devalues so that the rich people preserve their money by getting inflation hedges, and poor people can't get out of the way. And that's what the U.S. has been experiencing these last 3 years or so.
That's why Republicans are getting their head handed to them right now. I mean, that's a big issue. Anytime the gold price goes up and the dollar goes down, the GOP, which is supposed to represent sound money and sound finance, gets clocked. Here we go again.
So I think there are good opportunities on the upside for a little mention of a stronger dollar. The administration just won't do it. The Fed has tried over the last month, but the G8 keeps squelching them. This is the finance ministers, and particularly the U.S. Treasury, coming back and squelching what the Fed might like to do, which is get out of this box. I think the Fed's not really in as bad a box as people make it out to be. If they hiked, we'd get a stronger dollar and lower inflation, and that would help a lot.
I would take just one measly quarter of a point. It's like they should take back the last quarter-point cut, Dave, just for starters. See what happens.
That's right.
Take a risk, for goodness sakes.
Take some risk, but even if they don't, with interest rates this low, I think the economy is looking pretty good. Remember, the capitulation may not have been in the equity market right now. I think it was in March, but the economists capitulated in April with it. They were expecting a -2% on the second quarter GDP. It looks like it'll be a +2%. So that's a 4% delta that's just occurred over the last 2 months, and yet people are still bemoaning the conditions.
Now, Jerry Boyer's interesting thing. Dave Malpass mentioned none of the candidates are touting a strong dollar.
Well, McCain is.
Yeah, McCain, this is very interesting. I don't know how far to take this, but in McCain's 2 economic speeches this week, he did not mention the dollar. In his 15-page policy blueprint, he led with a stronger dollar. Now, in the speeches he made, good speeches, Denver and Washington, D.C., Jerry sounds like a supply-sider for the first time. He wants across-the-board tax cuts, including corporate tax cuts. He wants to drill, drill, drill. He's beginning to develop the drill, 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 America First energy jobs kind of idea. He's talking free trade, Jerry. Now, this guy's had a lousy month or 38 days. We could put up the in-trade polling on that. He's really done badly. But is this a turning point? Steve Schmidt, new campaign manager. Are we resurrecting McCain? Is he a nouveau supply-sider or what?
Yeah, the futures market hasn't done that well for him, and the Dow has sort of tracked his prospects. I think global investors are looking a lot more at next year's policy environment than most financial analysts are acknowledging. Yes, he's getting on message. He's tightening it. He's getting better. He's not there yet, Larry, but he's moving in the right direction. Like, for instance, you mentioned the dollar. You know, the dollar kind of showed up in a policy wonk memo. That's because Washington thinks that the dollar is for us, you know, titans of industry, or for the masters of the universe and the poor plebes in the Main Street America. They don't know about complicated things like the dollar. They're wrong. Average Americans think about the dollar. Average Americans understand that a weak dollar has hurt us. The dollar is not an elitist issue. It's a populist issue.
Yes.
And only elitists don't realize
Somebody
that.
sent me today, I don't know, it might have been Dan Clifton. It might have been a Pew poll. I'm not 100% sure. 75% of Americans want a stronger dollar. That is an astonishing... You are absolutely right. It is a populist issue. We all have dollar bills in our billfolds, wallets, and purses. You are dead right. It's only the fancy pants elitists. By the way, let's put that McCain chart up. This guy's had a bad month, and I'm hoping this is a turnaround.
And the Dow with him.
Larry. This is the in-trade. Well, Quentin, you're going to love this if you can see the chart. This is a in-trade pay-to-play prediction markets, and I saw this off of the Carpe Diem, Mark Perry's blog site. President McCain, this guy's had a bad 38 days. He's fallen from 42, that's a probability of victory,